on the 16th of June 2009, and were included in 2010 as a country. It then represents 3.27 billion people, and out of that, it then constitutes 1.4% of the world population. It then means that there's a huge opportunity for South Africans then to trade and play a meaningful role within the context of the BRICS countries. Colleagues, we're meeting again at a time when the NDB, which is the new development bank established by BRICS, concluded various memorandum of agreement with the BRICS Business Council to deal with financial projects and the involvement of tailor-made solutions to help and build an inclusive program that we need then to be resilient and sustainable future for the planet, so that the participation of the continent must then realize in terms of Africa being a young continent relative to others. Colleagues, we are meeting at a time when the recovery of the economy continue then to on a negative trajectory where we're not seeing any quick wins. Despite all those negative aspects, colleagues, the Africa Free Continental Agreement is posing an opportunity for South Africa and businesses to reshape and redefine our involvement in the economic sphere, so that our participation broadly within Africa Free Continental Agreement, where goods and services is the order of the day, trade patterns need then to take shape within the context of a new inclusive economic future for the country and delivering an accelerated economic recovery for South Africa. Despite all those areas, colleagues, we need then to look at the current prognosis, where we need then either to define, are we at the crossroad, low road or high road? And depending on whatever path and scenario we choose, it then requires us then to have a decisive leadership that deals with various aspects. Because in the main, we need then to look at the key fundamental issues that requires an urgent attention: policy consistency, regulatory reform, addressing crime, corruption, and undoing state capture, infrastructure investments, state-owned enterprises restructuring, optimization or exit strategy, where we then need to redefine which ones we must then keep and which one we must let go. Equally so, we need also then to look at the energy industrialization strategy, because in the absence of energy industrial strategy, we cannot then build the economy or build the current recovery plans where we don't have sufficient and sustainable energy. And equally so, we need also to relook at the economic transformatory agenda. And addressing all these issues, it also then requires investment strategy and plans and different patterns of skills shortages that need then to be looked at. Ladies and gentlemen, we need also then to look at policy choices and implementation that must then tackle crime, improve ease of doing business, mobilize large-scale infrastructure projects, SOE reforms and rationalization, and clarity on the land reform, education, and skills development. One of the things that, to relook at, what are the things that we think we need then to do them differently, and it then requires a proper alignment. And despite all the issues on the economic front, we have seen a number of organizations that continued to challenge an agenda for transformation, and there are various institutions and entities, whether in the form of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and individuals that are dealing with an anti-transformatory agenda. And again, it is not new, because if we think it's new, it then means we don't live in this country. We have seen when they challenge the bounce back scheme on the tourism, we have seen even the recent challenges on the sectoral targets on the employment equity stuff. We have seen also a number of organizations that continue to deal with various aspects of our legislation where they're basically taking us back to an anti-transformatory society. And I'm saying it then requires us then to be resilient, resolute, deal with these issues, focus and deal with them. And as a result of that, I guess, it then requires us then to relook at things differently, to have a proper structures that deal with the legislative environment. Because again, in the media space, we have seen for the past decade, the number of organizations that media, they've dealt with them in whatever form and shape. And even in recent times, like a day or two, where some are saying a particular narrative in the public gallery. And I'm saying it requires this collective to be firm and develop a clear plan and strategy. They've challenged institutions like the car powership by virtue of establishing environmental organizations that they challenge various transformative agenda and they hide on a particular ticket. And I'm saying we need them to be firm in addressing and reflecting on those organizations that they're anti-transformation, because for the first time in our history, we've been told that coal is equivalent to corruption. And we remain silent and mum. And most of the people that they are above 50, they've grown and they've developed their entities and companies utilizing coal. Part of our problem is the following, that as a country, we remain silent on matters that matters for the society in terms of a development. We remain silent when the energy crisis continues to plunge the economic recovery of this country, because we don't want to upset the current order. And I'm saying we need then to relook at a proper configuration. How do we deal with the energy configuration, particularly the question of nuclear, coal, and gas? Because in the absence of the sustainability and what we call dispatchable energy, we then continue to rely on weather, and weather cannot give us a security of energy, and therefore we cannot industrialize and talk about empowerment in any form or shape in the absence of sustainable and security of energy in our country. Some of the things, colleagues, that we need to continue reflecting also is the current trends where we are witnessing various agreements being concluded. For example, the Dutch and the Netherlands concluded a particular fund at the tune of 18 billion in terms of hydrogen. You then ask yourself, where do we see black companies, professionals playing in that space? We continue to see in the energy, we are not playing any meaningful role. We continue seeing the financial services continue to represent the old order, and we are not playing any meaningful role in that sector. We see in the property, nothing is happening. We're seeing in health, and I'm saying we cannot live in a country where we are more than 50 million people, but we cannot even talk about a black bank that the majority of these people, including government employees, they need them to be paid by those institutions. And colleagues, I'm saying we're meeting within that context as a council, as the summit. And I think in closing, colleagues, the coming 2 days, we are going to have a robust debate and discussions on how we see the economic architecture of the country, how do we see the patterns of ownership continuing, how do we see the exclusion continuing, because if indeed we're serious in addressing the economic imbalances of the past, we need them to do things differently. Because in the absence of doing that, it then means we're then doomed then to repeat and deal with these issues. Before I conclude, colleagues, I want to acknowledge the presence of the Minister in the Presidency here with us, and Mine, colleagues, is to welcome all of you and then have a fruitful debate and discussion in the next coming 2 days. And you are all welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, President. You'll have to bear with me, colleagues. From time to time, I'm going to have to pay the rent and acknowledge our speakers, our sponsors, so that the lights don't go off. So just to make sure we are aligned to the anchor sponsor today, which is the Hotel and Retail SETA, to our sponsors, Vodacom, DSO Consulting, to, hey, let me actually open my thing. Bear with me. Technology is, but they are right there. Actually, you must improvise. So Rand Water, Sariti, Anglo-American, Absa Bank, African Bank, Vodacom, the National Empowerment Fund, DSO Consulting, and the Industrial Development Corporation. Thank you very much. We want to move then to the reason why we're here, or the person that's made sure that we are sitting at tables today and in chairs, and that is the owner of this establishment, Mr. Zamani Lijane. I would like him to come to the stage and just welcome us officially to his establishment. It's always a pleasure as Black Business Council to be supporting Black-owned businesses and also members in good standing of our organization. So without further ado, if you can join me on stage, sir, to welcome us all.
Program Director, good morning and thank you for allowing me to welcome our colleagues. Mr. President, I appreciate your time that you have granted with your team, the CEO, Council, as well as members of Council, in order to converge in your home. I call it a home. I don't want to say I own it. Any Black-owned facility, it's a home for an African man and woman. So regard it like that. Now, my job is very easy in this precinct. I'm sure you'll understand that is the top precinct in the country or in Africa. The ambience here is tranquil. But before the nature calls, I would like you to remember that behind this building, you can use either doors. That's where the offices are if nature have called. Alternatively, you can go right at the back on my right-hand side. If you use the left, that's a kitchen, don't go there. Unless you are a chef, you want to assist us, we'll appreciate that. Other than that, this facility has this auditorium and has got other 6 breakaways. Next to the main gate where you have entered on your left, it's a wellness spa. And we pride ourselves with the salt therapy. So if you go home today or tomorrow without passing by, you'll have made a gross mistakes. Very serious one. If I have the opportunity to charge you, you'll go to a DC. And I think President can chair that forum. I don't think you'll have a problem in that. So besides that, we have also, next to the spa, a champagne bar. All top champagnes are there and available. And once you have had that, you can then move up to level 7. I think it's the first biggest restaurant in Africa or in the world that is right on top of the hotel. We call level 7 in the Sky Bar. It's a fine dining. I know I've seen majority of you there, so those who were there, they are recused for today and tomorrow. But those who were never there, you can't go home without passing by. Please phone home, let your driver bring your changed clothes in case, because we also have rooms. The Radisson or Tambo Hotel is the only one in the country. The others are called Radisson Blues and yellow and red. This is Radisson or Tambo. in Africa. The room are spacious. It's so much convenient. I don't want to describe more because you will not go there and sleep and make sure that you enjoy what I'm trying to describe. You know, sleep in a bed, my understanding just, it's like a cake. After you've baked the cake, you need to test. Before I spoil the event, let me say I would like to make two propositions, only two. Mr. President, you have one of the items to be discussed as supporting black business. For me today, I'm thrilled to stand here and appreciate the support that has been shown. However, my proposition relates to spider's web in terms of the rand that every one of us today is having in a wallet or purse, or even at home, those of you who keep money at home. My proposition is that we need to create a spider's web. We are all here in various sectors. Since I joined Black Business Council, I was never approached by anyone to share or to synergize. I think I have done that. I don't know how many of you have done, try to talk to some of our colleagues, see if we can support one another. We need to create that spider's web, so that once we trap a rand among Black Business Council, that rand should never move out of us. We need to exchange it. And if you are unable to do that, then move that rand from your right-hand pocket to the left-hand pocket. It mustn't go anywhere until the day when you can no longer speak. Then we'll take you along with that rand to the grave. Thank you very much.
A huge thank you to our host, ladies and gentlemen. It is not blue, it is Radisson or Tambo. Please can we all tag the hotel and the conference facility as we take pictures and share on social media. The BBC is all over social media platforms. Just don't say blue, you won't find it. It's Radisson or Tambo. We will definitely be supporting Mr. Zamani. Thank you very much for opening your home and making it home to us as the BBC and our members. It would be amiss if I don't also acknowledge the CEO and the knobs that are here today, National Office Bearers of the BBC, also the portfolio chairpersons and the leadership within their structures who also contribute to a lot of the work that the BBC does in line with the challenges that the President has put before us as he has painted the canvas for this morning. I want us to run into the program as quickly as possible. We've got a jam-packed array of discussions, and we will take 2 before lunch and 2 after lunch. And I've got an amazing set of moderators that will assist me in making sure that we're keeping to the time, because at the end of today, I will be opening up the bar sponsored by South African breweries. So I think a lot of you have already seen the program and are thinking, are we going to be on time for that? Don't worry, I have a team that will be moderating throughout the day to make sure that we keep on time. I'd like to acknowledge the ministers that are here. Minister in the presidency, Sabuela, we were actually waiting for 10 o'clock for you to be here, but you are here early, and that is women leadership. So thank you very much for that. And I'd like to call the first moderator. Yes, you may clap. That is women leadership. So I'd like to call our first moderator, Osbusa Sonduna, who will introduce the minister, and he will be overseeing the panel around the political economy and where we are now. So Sbu, if you can just come up on stage so you can quickly get all your speakers onto the stage and we can dive into our first conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, VP. My name is Usbusiso Nduna. I am the chairperson of the Abasa Business Forum, Abasa being the Association for the Advancement of Black Accountants in Southern Africa. So my task, as explained by our Vice President, is to moderate the panel discussion titled "The Political Economy, Where is South Africa Headed to?" Now, this is a very exciting topic in light of, the political instability we are experiencing as a country, particularly within local government, the change in mayors in various municipalities, also just the debate around public policy, both domestically and internationally, topical issues, our stance on the Russia-Ukraine war, etc. So really the political landscape does have an impact on the current economy. And we have got our minister in the presidency, the Honorable Ms. Kumbuzo Nchaveni, who will give us a keynote address. And then after, I will call on the panel who will unpack. I will introduce the panel after I have called on the minister on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome our minister, Ms. Kumbuzo Nchaveni, on stage.
Good morning, everyone. The lights are not doing me justice, but when I did a quick scan of the room, I've seen my professor, I've seen former colleagues, I've seen friends, and I must declare I used to be a member of an organization that is an affiliate of the BBC. So for me, it's home. Madam Program Director, and also the moderator of this panel, the president of the Black Business Council, Mr. Elias Monache, and the Leadership Collective, the CEO of the Black Business Council, Mr. Khanki Matabane, and the management team, members of the affiliate organizations, and members of the business community, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to be in a panel with for me. So I'm not colleagues with old people.